The first WWE Return of the year happened at NXT New Year's Evil. Sangha and Veer Mahan were scheduled to face the Creed brothers. Veer wasn't there, but another Indian superstar was, Jinder Mahal, who had been making sporadic appearances in 2022 and was last seen in November. After making his return, the former WWE champion fought Julius Creed one-on-one later in the show. Thanks to help from Sangha, Jinder was not hindered and won the match. About a month later, Mahal got a massive opportunity when he got an NXT championship match against Braun Breaker. Unfortunately for Mahal, this fight had a different outcome. Since then, Jinder Mahal has been teamed with Veer and Sangha and hasn't won a match since he returned in January. On the third Raw of 2023, Elias was geared up to take on MVP. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. Montel Vontavious Porter revealed Elias was actually going up against Omos, who hadn't been seen since November 2022. Elias put up a good fight, but he was going up against a literal giant, and the end result is what you'd expect. Unfortunately, Omos' Royal Rumble appearance 2 weeks later wasn't nearly as dominant, as he was eliminated in under 3 minutes and didn't make any eliminations of his own. A week after Omos returned, Raw had a special 30th anniversary show, and oh boy, were there a lot of returns. First, Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Hart kicked off the event. While Hulk and Jimmy were ready to start the show, their microphone was not.
And week after week, it got better, just like...
Later in the show, JBL and Baron Corbin were trying to get into a poker game, but had to get past the Godfather. Unfortunately, he didn't have a hoe train, but he did have a list, and Baron Corbin wasn't on it. Godfather decided to check with the guy in charge, Farouk Ron Simmons. After a flash of cash, JBL and Corbin were welcomed inside. Back in the arena, LA Knight was running his mouth in the ring, but all it took was one sound to shut him up.
And I didn't think anybody'd show up because they ain't got enough to feed.
However, it wasn't the dead man. It was the American Badass. The Undertaker rode down to the ring on his bike as the fans roared with excitement. Eventually, LA Knight started talking again and ruined the fun. However, another dark figure helped to turn LA Knight off. Bray Wyatt got LA Knight into the ring and gave his Royal Rumble opponent a Sister Abigail. The Undertaker looked Bray dead in the eye and whispered something in his ear before riding out. Back at the poker game, we saw Diamond Dallas Page and Alundra Blaze, who had the old school WWE Women's Championship, the same one she dropped in the trash on WCW Nitro back in 1995. It looked like Blaze had won the game, but bang, DDP pulled out a straight flush and made out like a bandit. After that, it was time to break it down. All 5 members of D-Generation X walked out. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, The Road Dogg, X-Pac, and Kurt Angle? I guess when you can't get Billy Gunn, you have to improvise. DX was just as confused as the fans, and Angle explained.
I always wanted to be in DX.
D-Generation X decided to do a little test to see if Angle could make the cut, but they were interrupted by Imperium. Gunther challenged DX to a fight, and one by one, they all turned down the offer. Thankfully, Seth Rollins and the Street Profits were in the mood to wrestle. They still needed someone to make this tag team match official though. Enter Teddy Long. Thankfully, the former SmackDown general manager didn't say anyone had to go one-on-one with The Undertaker, and instead set up a 6-man tag team match between Rollins, the Profits, and Imperium. Now all they needed was a referee, and luckily, Kurt Angle came dressed for the occasion. Also, Jerry the King Lawler joined the commentary table for the match. Once the bell rang, the 6 men put on a fantastic match, and Seth Rollins even hit an Angle slam. While Kurt appreciated it, he made sure to call the match down the middle, which was eventually won by Seth and the Street Profits. After that, we returned to the poker game where Baron Corbin was playing against the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, who was probably hoping to pay off his massive debt. Unfortunately for Ted, Corbin won, only for Erwin R. Shyster to butt in and remind Baron to pay his taxes. There was only one word to describe this. After that, Ric Flair came out, styling and profiling, and thanked the fans and WWE. The Nature Boy then introduced his daughter, Charlotte, and called it a night. In the main event of Raw's 30th anniversary, Austin Theory fought Bobby Lashley in a no disqualification match for the United States Championship. Someone decided to make a surprise return in the middle of the fight, and that someone was Brock Lesnar. The Beast laid out Lashley with an F5 and then did the same to Austin Theory, which ended up giving Theory the victory. This reignited Brock and Bobby's feud, and things got even more heated at the Royal Rumble. During the men's match, Lashley got his revenge by eliminating Lesnar. The Beast and the Almighty finally got to go one-on-one again at Elimination Chamber. Brock did technically lose due to disqualification, but seeing how it all ended, it was clear that the Beast was the real winner. Soon after, Thereafter, Omos would challenge Brock Lesnar to a match at WrestleMania. Lesnar accepted, and now the Battle of the Beast and the Giant is on. Rewinding back to the Royal Rumble, the first return of the night happened only 4.5 minutes into the show. After going on hiatus in September 2022, SmackDown commentator Pat McAfee made a surprise appearance and called the action for the show. After that, the Men's Royal Rumble began, and it wouldn't take long to get our first return of the match. After taking about a month off to heal a shoulder injury, Johnny Gargano came rolling into the match at entry number 5. While Mr. Wrestling didn't make any eliminations, he did last nearly 30 minutes in the match. Not only that, but it took 2 men to eliminate Gargano. After Johnny Wrestling, it wouldn't be until entry number 21 that we got another return. In his home state of Texas, Booker T made his WWE comeback. Booker kicked some butt and even hit the spin-a-rooney, but unfortunately, Gunther wasn't a fan, and the 5-time WCW champion was eliminated in under a minute. A few entries later, the Royal Rumble became rated R as Edge came marching toward the ring. The Ultimate Opportunist laid out Judgment Day and eliminated Finn Balor and Damian Priest. Edge went to eliminate Dominic Mysterio too, but Balor and Priest interfered and prevented that from happening. However, Edge didn't let that stop him, and he went chasing after Judgment Day. Rhea Ripley then got involved in the fight, but the return of Edge's wife, Beth Phoenix, evened the playing field, and the power couple left the Rumble standing tall. At number 29, the controversial Logan Paul made his return to WWE. Paul wasn't welcomed by his fellow wrestlers or the fans and took a fair amount of punishment, but also dished out some of his own. A little later in the match, Logan created an OMG moment when he and Ricochet gave cross bodies to each other in midair. Right after Paul, it wasn't a surprise, but it was still awesome to see. After nearly 7 months on the shelf, Cody Rhodes made his in-ring return. Cody came in like a house of fire and laid out everyone and even eliminated Dominic Mysterio, but the numbers eventually caught up to the American Nightmare. However, Rhodes stayed in the match, and the number of participants kept getting fewer and fewer. Cody eliminated fellow returnee Logan Paul and made it to the final 2 with Gunther. The Austrian powerhouse had almost every advantage, but somehow stayed in the match. However, thanks to his resilience and borrowing a move from his AEW brother Goldust, Cody clotheslined Gunther out of the ring and won the 2023 Men's Royal Rumble. In the Women's Royal Rumble, our first return of the night came at entry number 11. After having her face destroyed by Shayna Baszler in November 2022, Natalya was back in action. Unfortunately, her comeback was rather lackluster. She lasted just over 3 minutes before being eliminated by Damage Control. Right after Natalya, we got another surprise, Asuka, who had taken a hiatus from WWE. She returned with a look that resembled her very early days as a wrestler in Japan, when the Empress of Tomorrow was called Kana. Unlike Natalya, Asuka put in a good showing. She made 3 eliminations and was one of the final 3 competitors in the match. While she was eliminated, it was only a minor setback, as the Empress of Tomorrow earned the right to face the Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. Right after Asuka entered the Royal Rumble, we saw another return. Formerly known as Doudrop, Piper Niven made her WWE comeback after last wrestling in September 2022. Even with a new name, Niven had limited success. She didn't make any eliminations and ultimately got booted out by Raquel Rodriguez. We got our first big surprise return in the Women's Royal Rumble at number 20. Chelsea Green walked into the ring and was eliminated in 5 seconds, setting a record in the Women's Royal Rumble. A little later, we got another surprise at number 25. Michelle McCool's theme song started playing, but she was sitting in the crowd with her kids. Duty called, however, and McCool jumped the barricade and got into the ring. And yes, she did hit the face breaker. The former women's champion put in a good show and even made an elimination, but she herself was eventually eliminated by Rhea Ripley. At number 28, the Taking Care of Business tank came rolling out, and Shotzi, who hadn't wrestled since November of 2022, was the one operating it. Unfortunately, Shotzi couldn't take care of business in the ring and ultimately got eliminated by Minchin. However, the biggest surprise of the Women's Royal Rumble came out at number 30. The irresistible force Nia Jax walked out from the back and made her return to WWE. Jax took charge of the match, but even she was outnumbered. To Nia's credit, it took every woman in the match to eliminate her. This next wrestler decided to make his return 2 days after the Royal Rumble. While The Miz was complaining in the ring, WWE official Adam Pearce interrupted and announced that Rick Boogs had joined the Raw roster. Boogs hadn't been seen in 9 months after he was injured at WrestleMania 38. The guitarist was then put in an impromptu match against The Miz. Rick made quick work of the most must-see WWE superstar and solidified his victory over The Miz by defeating the A-lister again 2 weeks later in an even shorter match. At NXT Vengeance Day, Apollo Crews was going up against Carmelo Hayes, who was accompanied by Trick Williams. Little did those two know, but Apollo had a trick of his own. Williams tried to get involved in the match, only for Dabba-Kato to make a surprise return and help out Crews. Unfortunately, Apollo still lost, and the pain didn't stop there. The former Commander Aziz turned on his friend and attacked Crews after the match. Kato then showed his former ally how it's done by defeating Dante Chen in his first match back. On the first Raw of February 2023, Becky Lynch fought Bayley in a steel cage match. Despite being locked inside, Becky was still outnumbered, as Io Sky and Dakota Kai stalked the man from the outside. However, a surprise return would turn things around.
Wait a second. No!
Lita marched towards the ring, took out Io Sky with a twist of fate, and gave Becky Lynch the assistance she needed to defeat Bayley. The former enemies officially turned allies when Becky and Lita teamed up to take on Dakota Kai and Io Sky for the Women's Tag Team Championship. It was still 2 against 3 with Bayley at ringside, so Lynch and Lita needed one more person to even the playing field. Trish Stratus went all out on Bayley, which gave Lita the opening to hit the moonsault and win the match. 1 week after that blast from the past, we got hit with another one. On the March 6, 2023 episode of Raw, John Cena was back inside a WWE ring. Before the 16-time world champion could even say a word, Austin Theory interrupted. The United States champion challenged Cena to a match at WrestleMania, but John said no. The leader of the C Nation said Theory wasn't ready for him, but Austin wouldn't walk away. After serving the fans and taking a few shots at the champ,
I would so much rather be bald than have them pipe in fake crowd noise for my matches because nobody cares.
John Cena accepted and agreed to face Austin Theory on the grandest stage of them all. Roman Reigns actually stole his name from another wrestler. To find out who it was, hit the video on screen.